The way I write most of my songs is because I in Urchin I don't collaborate really. Only a couple of times have I collaborated. But what I do is I write I record instrumental tunes, and songs, and I just have hundreds of them, and then I write all the time. Whether it's song titles, or if it's lines, that one line that comes in my head when I'm feeling a certain way or something, and then I'll base the song on that, or I'll base it on, and I'll go, oh, that instrumental is gonna be perfect for, because I have them all kind of in my head, and I'll go to the instrumentals, I'll start to write the lyrics over that, and then I have the song together. So it's kind of like I collaborate with my past self.
Yeah.
It's stuff that I might not even remember doing, and I'll listen to it 5 years later. So if you say a song was written in 2010, it might have been written in 1993, or part of it in 1993, part of it in 2000, part of it in 2010.
I mean, depending on who I'm writing music for,
Right.
that's going to change the structure. There's a lot more leeway in writing improvisational music. A lot more rules get broken. There's a lot more room for exploration. At the same time, I think no matter who I'm writing for, you always have to do a check. You always have to think about what exists, because you're essentially creating something that doesn't exist yet. So you have to think about what does exist and what works, and what makes that great, and why it connects with people.
Right.
It's not always easy, and you don't want to copy music that exists, but you do want to use it as a guide, and you shouldn't feel ashamed of that. That's been done for years. A lot of the best songs were inspired by other songs. I do think that there's one overlapping quality that happens when I'm writing music, no matter who I'm writing it for. Whether it's the trio or Testament. And recently I've actually been co-writing songs with a great singer. Her name's Adrienne Warren, and she's in the show Dreamgirls.
Oh, wow.
She just did the Broadway tour of Dreamgirls. She's about to be in the show Bring It On. But she rocks. She's like a young Tina Turner. And I introduced her to AC/DC and Bad Company. We started working on a project that's like a modern, like Ike and Tina type thing.
That's great.
Which is really, really
Yeah.
fun. And that presents a whole other challenge, because now I'm working with, I'm thinking about female background singers. I'm thinking about horns. I'm thinking about six horns. I'm thinking about organ, piano. That's really great though, because I've been able to apply everything I've learned from writing the metal stuff and the jazz stuff
Right.
to that. And I think it sort of it goes back as well. It's when I do the metal stuff, I think I've learned more about structure by being able to do these songs that are a little more pop in some cases. But I'm very aware of whatever kind of music I'm working on. So I think with no matter what style I'm writing music for, no matter what project, there always has to be a sense of shifting gears.
Right.
You've got that part, you've got the initial part, it's moving along, you've got, all right, where does it go? That's the big challenge. It has to shift gears. It has to go to another place.
For quite some time, I was doing anything possible to destroy any concept of formula, every way that I could possibly think of to screw it up. And I think I did some of those earlier, those long, Fluffhead and songs like that, I was like hell bent that if you gave me a rule, then I was going to break it. And I remember actually being in music school at the time, you know, if you said, you know, don't use parallel fifths or whatever, then it was like, okay, well, I'm only going to use parallel fifth, but I'm going to do it in, you know, 6 different time signatures, and it's going to go through all 12 keys, and then all 4 band members are going to be playing 4 different time signatures at once, and like any possible way to rebel against, including what was popular at the time. Like if it was like that was popular, fine. Then I'm going to be, you know, if you want it to be short, it's going to be long. If you know, if you're supposed to sing high, then I'm going to sing low. Like anything but. But then I think somewhere along the line, maybe I don't know. Maybe that changed. I kind of feel like, well, it goes through phases.
Right.
It goes through phases. I'm doing something completely different now. But no. Then for a while, I just wanted to write effortless sounding Neil Young songs, you know, or something, or, you know, not that I succeeded. I'm just saying that I guess like as you go through life, you know, the other thing is that it becomes a trap. It's like, oh, I'm the guy who writes 12-minute long.
Right.
Well, then I can't do that because that's what people expect. So now it's got to be 2 minutes and 1 chord. You know what I mean? Just because. No, it's like it's the process is the fun. For me.
Yeah.
And I've had all the bells and whistles and success. And it doesn't give me any feeling of... It doesn't, like, water the soul.
Right.
Even though it's great and fine and wonderful and fine and dandy and fantastic. I'm certainly not... But I'm telling you.
The process is where
it's not... Yeah, it's not music. It's and it brings, you know, a certain kind of other problems.
Artistic integrity is more important than anything, and I think it's, you know, it's like those things that are a crime, you know? It's like, if you don't do things with artistic integrity, then you're like, you should be like in jail, you know, like the rock police should come out and get you, you know, because you're doing something that is wrong. You know, it's like, it's wrong to do to society, it's wrong to do to people, it's wrong. As an artist, you know better. I think that's the thing. As an artist, you know better. And I think really what it comes down to, it's like anything, you know, if you have, you want to say you have artistic integrity, right? But the only way that you have it is if you're searching for it, always. It's like, you know, if you want to like become something, or you never actually become that, you're just searching for it, you're trying to. If you're always trying to have artistic integrity and to be aware of it, then you have it. And I think that's like more of the mode, because in the beginning you'll feel like you're phoning in, or in the beginning you'll feel like you did, you know. But like I said, the bottom line is that you know if you're phoning in, and so do those guys, like that guy in Coldplay, you know.
Yeah.
He phones in.
Want to talk about him?
Yeah, I can't stand Coldplay.
All right.
I mean, it's that guy's like, you know. I mean, that guy's full of shit, and he knows it.
That's a really interesting question. What does artistic integrity mean to me? I think, really, it just means maintaining your dignity. And there's a lot of examples of great artists that have had to compromise that in order to get somewhere. You know, outside of music, if we look at film for a second, you know, I consider Johnny Depp somebody with, he's done stuff with a lot of integrity. I think he's able to do films, and he appears in this great documentary I have on gypsy musicians from Romania. I can't imagine he got paid anything good. And I've seen him in projects like that before. But he's able to do that by doing movies like, you know, Pirates of the Caribbean 2, which isn't maybe not the best film ever made. But you know, you can forgive him because he's done incredible films. So then looking at music, you know, I feel like, you know, we can always look at the Beatles, right? Everybody looks at the Beatles. It's hard. You can't ignore them. They're the blueprint for everything that was to come. Yeah, Yeah, they influence everybody. So many things that happened with them have sort of repeated themselves with different groups. Like, you know, the girlfriend that kind of gets in the way. It's just amazing how, like, what happened with them and how they went their separate ways. But it's such a, you know, it's a universal story in a way, because you've seen a lot of bands that start out where they're all like cookie cutter images of one another, the way they did. Yeah, they all had the funny haircuts and the suits and everything, and they got so far away from that. Yeah, as time went on, they were asserting their identity. They would never do something like that, like what they did earlier in their career, later in their career. But yet, that's what enabled them to do it.
Right.
So, as far as our it would be easy to point a finger at them in 1964 and say these guys don't have any artistic integrity. But you know what? Just a couple years later, as soon as Rubber Soul came out, or even Revolver, for that matter, they just blew that theory out of the water.
Well, it's certainly important. The part that confuses me about the question of what does artistic integrity mean to me is that sometimes I'm not completely sure what my job is as a live musician. Okay, so it's the word artistic.
Right.
All right?
Musical integrity is something better?
Well, part of my job is that I'm an entertainer, which is fine, right?
Totally.
So when you say the word artistic, I suppose if you're like a Broadway singer, you're an artist and you're an interpreter and you're supposed to inhabit a character, right? And if you're, you know, Ozzy Osbourne or you know, I say this with all due respect, but then part of your life is going to be an act, right?
Right.
Which is sort of what the TV show, the Osbournes and all that was about, which is that, you know, in the end of the day, in my opinion, you know, your life is your family, your living room. It certainly is for me. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there's the aspect of being an artist that's like an improviser. There's an aspect of being an artist that's a composer or a songwriter. Then there's the aspect of being an artist that's an entertainer. And part of being an entertainer is entertaining. And so that might involve playing a song that, you know, is the right song at the right time for the right venue that isn't necessarily, you know, I could go out and say, well, I want to play all new songs because I just wrote them and screw you.
Right.
Sure, you all paid money to come here. Well, I'm the artist and I want to play 17 songs you don't know, and some of them suck, but that's my vision, and you can all, you know.
Right. But as an entertainer, you're not going to do that because that's
I'm
not
not, because I like
to please
to
the audience.
feel everybody rocking out, and I you know, that's where the question of integrity, you know, I don't know. Suddenly, like in like 95, all of a sudden we became popular. Probably, in my opinion, less about talent per se than about being unself-conscious. Like somebody who's unself-conscious, it's an attractive quality.
Yeah.
This is my history looking back now. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but like I think about Fish with Dress. Like we have a drummer, he threw that on at a party, it was really funny. He's an unself-conscious guy. Suddenly everybody loves the dress.
Loves
so that's like, do you keep wearing the dress? And then like we used to talk about it, it's like now it's not unself-conscious anymore. Now I know that the dress is popular. So should I keep wearing the dress? And then a couple times you could see him grappling with it in the 90s. He took it off, and then he came on with like a business suit for a couple of because you know, he was like rebelling against his own trap.
Right.
But, you know, artistic integrity being, to me, it's all about the art. It's not about me. It's unself-conscious.